All right. Well, you know him, you love him. He is back in his Trump Tower-like spread along the banks of the mighty Ohio over on the Commonwealth side, I might add. You know, Tracy, there's some in these parts that, and I'm not one of them, but there's some that, you know, they on the Ohio side, they kind of look down their nose a little bit at the Kentucky side. What prompted you to be on the Kentucky side, if I may ask?
You know what? I looked at my piece of property when it was being built, Tom, and I just felt my view is so much better from the side of Kentucky looking into downtown Cincinnati. And I really want to congratulate a lot of the city government people for improving my view and probably increasing the price going from 900,000. I think I'm at $1 million right now. So I appreciate you helping my view, city council. And if you could paint that yellow ugly bridge, maybe a green or something, that would help my view as well.
What's wrong with the yellow? I think it looks great. You mean the Big Mac Bridge right there,
Yeah,
471
the
bridge.
That's an ugly color. I mean, let's move maybe a gray. Maybe a steel gray type. I don't know, but yellow's not cutting it for me because that's what I look out my window and I see traffic on the Big Mac Bridge, like at 7 o'clock when I'll wake up to get a glass of water. And I think, boy, you poor bastards going to work. And I just feel so bad. And Tom, something that I want to touch with you and the boys, and I can't stand it as well. I don't like it when people talk down to others.
Yeah.
And that really is a sticking point with me. So I agree with you guys. That's totally wrong. I hate that.
Well, now hold on. Okay.
What?
I mean, you say that,
Uh-huh.
but are you familiar with the old adage, practice what you preach? Have you heard that before?
Well, let me write that down. I've never heard that.
Okay.
Practice what you preach.
Because
geez,
when
that's
you
good.
came up with that, what's the fan thing you were talking about that San Diego did with the tickets and not selling to?
Yeah, I forget that. Something where they keep track of it. Yeah,
What's it called?
geofencing.
Geofence. Okay. You, if I'm not mistaken, were suggesting that the Reds should do some of that as it pertains to area code when it comes to playing a big game. It might be on national TV if they got good again or something along those lines, and allowing people from certain areas in, to be seen, the beautiful people, and others that you kind of keep out. Wasn't that you who said that?
I think that I was just trying to help the Reds out. I'm not saying, Tom, see, you're kind of pushing a little bit. I'm just saying on special game days, national TV, not every day, but I think you're looking for an FQI, and that's a fan quality index. It's not how many people go and attend a game. It's the quality of fan. It's who's going to spend the most money. Do you think people are going to spend the same amount of money going to a Reds game? Let's say someone from Bellevue or Indian Hill compared to, and I've said this, East Price Hill or a Norwood. It's not even close. We're going to spend probably 5 to 10 times what someone from Norwood or East Price Hill. I'm not taking them down because, they've got their pluses, I guess. But it's just not going. We have more disposable income. Are you familiar with disposable income? Well, when you're working for Fox, you probably had.
I was going to say, I used to know a lot about it, not so much anymore.
But you know what, Tom? There's a lot of truth to that. I mean, you go and you look at the highest FQI, and that is actually sponsors keep track of that. San Francisco Giants have the highest FQI because when you go to a game in San Francisco, and you guys probably never been to it, sat in the stands, but they are serving up Dungeness crab, maybe a silver oak as you're sitting and watching the game. They'll have sushi. It's kind of a different experience. It's more of a high-end experience, and that's what the advertisers are looking for.
Okay. All right. Well, we will continue to look into that, especially as baseball gets closer. The World Series is here, Tracer, and look, the stuff that dreams are made of, that legends are made of, I thought of you the second Bryce Harper hits that home run in the 8th inning, Game 5, crowd going crazy, down a run, and pow. Harper goes the other way, 2-run home run. Phillies march all over your San Diego Padres, I might add. But, I mean, through all of the ups and downs and a lot of downs baseball has had in recent years, there's something still very special about October baseball. And that was one of those moments you'll never forget.
No, never forget. I've probably watched Bryce hit that ball up Otaki. Talk about squaring a ball up. Oh, my God. I've never hit a ball that far, that hard opposite field. I'm going to be honest. Forget the act. That ball was crushed. You know, Thom, first of all, baseball is the best sport. I don't care. You know, you're sitting there. Let's put a guy on second base. Let's have a time clock. You're all about that.
I am.
You just keep, well, that's, let's just keep the game pure. And when it's pure, it's a great, great game. And here's an example. I mean, the playoffs, there's nothing better than baseball playoff. And I have to root for Bryce Harper, Thom. And I'll tell you why. I saw Bryce Harper roll into a perfect game event in San Bernardino, California, when he was a sophomore. And for people that don't know what a perfect game event, they take the best prospects in the area, or actually in the region, sometimes in the country, and they put them on display for colleges, for professional scouts. And it was because I took Hunter there. Hunter was a pretty big prospect at the time. And so they're playing. It's a 2-day, Saturday and Sunday in San Bernardino. And what was really crazy is this kid rolls in. A little bit of an entourage, I got to tell you, 3 or 4 people. And all of a sudden they stop what they're doing, get out there. Bryce walked up to the plate, took about 13, 15 swings, hit about 4 balls out. He was a catcher at the time. So they had him throw down to second, and then they actually had him throw from center field. This was all doing Bryce Harper as a sophomore, Thom.
Sophomore in high school, to make sure people understand. You're talking about sophomore in high school, like 15, 16 years old.
Sophomore in high school, and he actually got his GED early so he could go to a JC just in case he wasn't the first pick in the country, which he was. He was the best young player that I have ever seen play. Okay, I saw Manny Machado play down in Florida. I saw Francisco Lindor play down in Florida. I saw Lance McCullers Jr. play down in Florida. There is no competition when it comes to Bryce Harper at that age. And I just seeing him, and I remember coming back and telling your dad about a kid by the name of Bryce Harper that's going to be a Hall of Famer and a superstar. And of course, your dad, being the negative Nelly that he is, he's like, slow it down, Trace. He's got a long ways to go. And he has turned out to be a hell of a ball player, and he's really matured. So just seeing someone at an early age, as a sophomore in high school, do what he was doing in that camp was very impressive. So very happy for him. I think he has the 5th highest OPS in the history of the playoffs. That's how good he is right now.
And, of course, he was not a part of, a lot of people forget, he was not a part of that Washington Nationals team that won the World Series a couple of years ago after he signed that year as a free agent to leave Washington and go to Philadelphia. I'm kind of curious, Trace, when let's take Harper out for a second because you say he's the best you've ever seen. Okay, I want to take him out.
At that age.
But at that age, I'm curious when you go to some of these things and perfect game. You're right; it's a national deal, right? They have their regional setups, in different areas where the guys come in. But then in the summer, they have these big national things. They have them around the holidays as well, where they bring in the best players, or the best players in the country can come in as a showcase event. It's called Perfect Game. I'm curious, when you're there, do you see on average, and you said Florida, you saw Machado and you saw Lindor and McCullers and these guys. When you're there, are you able to say, and look, take away an injury, whatever it might be, are you able to say if there's 50 players there, are you able to say that there are 5 head and shoulders above everybody else, even though they're all great in their own right? Yeah.
But they are at a different level, and you can see that. I saw that with Machado, and I'll tell you what was pretty crazy because I knew about Lance McCullers Jr., right? Because I played with his dad, Lance Sr., who was a very good pitcher. And I remember sitting there and said, this Lance McCullers Jr. is so good. And all of a sudden, this guy walked up left-handed and hit one out, came up again and hit one out of off Lance McCullers Jr., and that was Lindor. I mean, so you're sitting there watching a kid who's young at 16 throw a 95, and then this Lindor kid, and you're going, who the hell is this? But your point is well taken. There are 4 or 5 players that really stand out, and I just mentioned, 3 or 4 of them.
I have to ask you before we get to some lighter topics here, though, because I've had multiple discussions with a lot of people about this topic. And I'll never forget, as long as I live, when I was doing the Arizona Diamondbacks games, and one of the great players, one of the great third basemen in the history of baseball, Matt Williams, right? Gamer,
yes,
tough
played with
guy,
Matt.
Great player, MVP. Yeah, great.
Yep.
I mean, just great player. And his son was a really good player in high school. And I asked him, I said, so, what's your son looking at? Because I knew he had all kinds of college scholarship offers. Probably wasn't ready yet to be a first or second or third round pick, but that was going to be probably in the future, if not a year later when he'd be eligible for the draft, or 3 years later, depending on what kind of college he went to. He looked at me and he said, you know what? He said, he's never going to play baseball again. And I said, why not? He said, because they have these kids playing too much baseball. They have them playing too much baseball. Too many games. Too many kids are getting run in the ground. Too many pitchers are throwing too many pitchers. You talk to Tim Kremchek here in town. Every other day he's doing Tommy John on 14, 15, 16, 17-year-old kids. Are kids playing, is there such a thing as playing too much?
Here's what's so funny. It's kind of timely because we've been talking about the kid. I think he's going to make a couple starts in the World Series, Lance McCullers Jr. His dad, and the Redskins, the Midland Redskins, right?
Joe Hayden,
the great
and the whole
amateur,
deal.
Great players. They bring in great teams. Lance McCullers Sr. says, you know what? You can have my kid, but here's the rule. He pitches 1 inning a week. That's it. So to your point, Lance McCullers saw that and says, listen, you're not going to pitch my kid every single day and burn him out. He says, you can have him and you can pitch him 1 inning a week. And that's a true story.
But do you think kids are playing too? Let's take the pitchers out of the mix. I shouldn't have brought them up. I'm saying, are we at a point now in baseball? And look, I'm sure basketball is no different. Football is very different because of just the way the game is played. But are kids playing too much summer baseball, fall baseball, all this stuff year-round? Is it too much?
Thom, but that's what they do. They do it in basketball, right? With their AAU teams, their select teams. They do it in baseball. You got to really watch this as a parent of burning your kid out. And some kids can handle it, Thom. Other kids can't. Do they play too much? Probably. Because when I grew up, not to bring it about me again, but I went from basketball, football to baseball and was all Southern California. Again, not to bring it up about me, but all Southern California in 3 sports. I changed sports. And I think that helped me as an athlete. But now if you really want to compete, I think you got to specialize. So I understand that. But it's up to the parents not to burn your kid out. Remember, your chances of making it to the big leagues, people, are very rare. A guy like me is very special. You probably have a better chance of hitting a lottery. If you're just looking for a sport, he's probably better off playing soccer. I mean, you get a trophy, all that kind of stuff. But to think your kid is actually going to play in the big leagues, you better shake yourself because it's tough. And it's tougher now than when I got to the big leagues.
All right, I want to shift gears for a well. First of all, because and for Paul Fritchner, who does a gambling show here a couple of times a week, he'll probably want to hear your prediction on who's going to win the World Series because he probably bets the other way since you went with San Diego so emphatically on beating the Phillies. I mean, they got killed in that series. Who do you like in the world? I know you're rooting for Dusty, but who do you think wins the World Series?
Do you know that the Astros have gone to the World Series 4 out of the last 6 years?
Yes, I do. And they won it one time,
strong.
and that was the year that they got caught cheating.
Right. I got to go with the Astros. But you know what? The Phillies are hot. Their bats are hot. So I'm going to wait for the first couple games to be played, and then I'll tell you who I think is going to win the series.
Come on.
It's going to be a good series, you have to admit.
That's right? Not telling me anything. I'm asking you who you think's going to win.
You know, this is what your dad does when I do a show with him. He hedges. See, you're very opinionated, Thom. You're black and white type of guy, not to bring race into it. But, you know, you got to give an opinion, and I think this is up for grabs. I think it's going to be a great World Series. And I think it's going to go, how about this? Since you guys pay me so much to give my opinion, I think it'll go 7 games. How about that?
Okay, that's fair enough. That's fair enough. That's good enough. Okay. Listen, as we've talked about, whether it was his bachelor party, whether it was you giving marital advice to Casey, Casey is getting keys to a brand new home that he and his fiance have purchased. They get those keys on Monday. What are your thoughts?
Hold on. How does he afford that? Interest rates are at 7%. I mean, is he getting it from UDF?
Casey, he asked you a question.
So right before interest rates rose the second time, I got a locked-in rate at 5.75.
Okay. Can I ask how much the home is valued at?
$223,000.
That's way over your head, Casey. You don't want to have money problems straight out of the box. Know your role. You're a ham and egger. Start off living in an apartment, right? Live in an apartment, drive a Hyundai. Let's get things started, but you're already jumping into a $250,000 home. You're going to have financial issues. You're going to end up in a divorce. And then you have to restart.
The guy hasn't even gotten married yet, and you're talking about the big D.
Listen, the biggest decision. You come on. The biggest decision you make in your life is who you marry. Do you not agree with that?
I agree 1,000% on that one, big boy.
Tracy, you're forgetting the one key cog in this whole equation that I don't think you've taken into account.
Go ahead.
My fiance is the breadwinner.
Casey, you do look smart. I got to admit, that is a great, because my wife has a lot of money. She comes from a lot of money and will inherit a lot of money. And every time I think about that, she becomes more and more attractive. You know, she is a very attractive woman. And when she inherits about $20 million, she's going to be one of the most beautiful women I've ever seen in my life.
Casey, any thoughts?
I'm glad we think the same way.
Tracy,
Casey, can I tell you
my grandfather used to say to me all the time, my dad's dad, Franchester Martin Brennaman as well, used to say to me all the time, he was a very wise man. He said, Thom, it's just as easy to marry a rich one as it is a poor one. Yeah. So you've clearly married a rich one. Casey, are you marrying into money?
No. But she makes a lot of money. More than I do.
Yeah, okay. Well, that's not saying much. You know, Casey, let me tell you something, too. If I were you, and I don't know what your wife looks like, but you want to marry a dead average woman. You don't want a high-maintenance woman. Look at Tom Brady, right? Having to deal with that crap. You just want low maintenance.
Well, wait a minute. Do you think that Giselle has had to deal with some high-maintenance stuff, too? I mean, in fairness, this goes both ways, this deal. I mean, is Tom Brady high maintenance? Is Tracy Jones high maintenance?
Yes, I am. I think if you take a look at my body of work, I think I deserve to be a little high maintenance. Don't you think, Thom? Don't you think? Let me tell you a secret. One of the things that I did that really got my career going was my girlfriend in Eugene, Oregon. She put me right on the right track. Now, she was a big girl. She was rather sloppy, if you know what I'm talking about. But as far as personality and as far as low maintenance, she was the best. So take from that what you want. Low maintenance, that's what you want.
Yeah, but clearly you didn't continue to prescribe to that theory because, I mean, Danae is certainly not some quote. How did you describe the girl in Eugene?
A little sloppy. She was a big girl, farm girl.
Okay.
And I think Thom, at the time, I needed a girl to sit on me a little bit. You know what I mean? Keep me down, not have me go out all the time and run the streets. And I think this girl was perfect for me. Now, the bad side, she's very helpful in my career. But once I moved to Burlington, Vermont, of course, you upgrade, right? Every time that you move up a step, you upgrade. So AA to AAA, the big leagues, you get yourself a better girl. It's just one of those things.
Well, then how and where did Danae come along? Because she's a California girl, right?
Right. Danae came along. Here, let me pull back the screen a little bit, the curtain.
Because you just said you went from Eugene to Vermont. Yeah. I don't know how much of a step up that is. It might be in baseball. I don't know. But then you go where?
Then I went to Denver, and of course that girl was
that's moving
always
up. Moving up.
Always going on hikes. Had the backpack with the granola in the backpack. Would always she made some granola, would keep me healthy. But then you just kind of progress. Now, I met Danae when I was at the bottom of my life. Just went through a divorce. In case you'll experience this, hopefully not for a while, but you'll get it. I was living in an apartment and driving a Hyundai. And Danae.
Where? In California?
No, here in Mason.
You were living in Mason?
Yes. After my divorce, Thom, I'm paying child support, spousal support, 2 homes. I lived in an apartment and drove a Hyundai.
That's where I'm living.
Now I live in a $1 million condo and drive a Range Rover. I've progressed.
So is it a natural progression to go from Mason to a palatial estate like yours?
Because his place is in Mason. I mean, how ironic is that?
Yeah.
Talking about boring. That is a boring place. God, they got any more Starbucks places there? There's nothing going on in Mason.
What the hell's going on in Bellevue?
Have you
I don't say that in a negative way. I don't know. I
did.
No, I did not.
I don't think. See, and here's how we started the show. Talking down to people. And what you did right there, Thom, shame on you. And the people of Bellevue are going to remember this.
See, you can't even say that with a straight face because you know if there's anybody that never talks down to anybody, that would be me. You
know what? And I'm going to say something. You are a nice guy. I have never heard you badmouth a single person.
Well,
Not a single person.
I wouldn't go that far. I wouldn't go that far.
No, you haven't. On or off the air, you've never badmouthed another person. Someone you work with, someone you know, a baseball player, a football player. You've never done that, Thom. That's why you're one of the best in the business.
That's not accurate in any form
Don't
or fashion.
take yourself down now, buddy.
Not at all.
Don't take yourself down.
All right, I want to ask you one last thing, and that has to do with are you a big social media guy?
Well, I am. I like to troll liberals. That's what I do. I get up late at night after a couple of cocktails and I see these idiot liberals on Twitter and I just have to follow them and then I just dump all over them. It is so, I cannot wait for Elon Musk to take over Twitter because we'll be back to free speech, right? But you get on Twitter, I have never seen so many liberal woke people in my life. It's just extremely frustrating that there are that many dumb people out there. I know you're not going to address this, but have you been on Twitter and taken a look at what's going on there?
I got to tell you, I never got on it all the years that I was broadcasting because, and I'm not name dropping here. I've told this story on the show before. When Joe Buck was never on Twitter, he decides to get on Twitter and he decides to start engaging with fans, right? You know, who are ripping his tail or whatever it might be.
Right.
And
he's very good.
And I say he's great. And I said to him, I said, you know, why would you subject yourself to what I call a world of hate? Okay? And now, because of this show, I've been forced to kind of jump on there from time to time, and I'll chime in on this. And we have our clips of the show. We have clips of you on the show, all these kinds of things, which the guys around here handle all that. I don't do it. I don't know how to do it. But, you know, I am amazed how much just nastiness and bitterness there is in this world.
Hatred.
And you really see that. There are a lot of good things that come about from it. I'm a big animal guy. We met your dog the other day.
Right.
There's some beautiful stories on how you can help some animals in need, whether it's here or whether it's overseas, whatever. And I like that kind of stuff. But I'm just amazed at how many people are just looking to jump on the bandwagon and just dump all over people. I don't get it.
Because it's real easy. You know, you sit here, these geeks and nerds sit behind the screen of their computer, tapping out with their pants down, sending out nasty stuff and very hurtful things to people.
Yeah.
And I kid around and say that I'm on Twitter and so on and so forth. First of all, I don't use my real name, kind of just slip in and slip out. But a lot of times I'll text something and I'll go, I'm going to take that back. But I write it out, but I don't send it. And it makes me feel a lot better. It feels like I got one up on them. I mean, I really do that. And maybe that's what you should try, Thom, because I know people like to take shots at you, right? But it is frustrating. It really, really is.
Well, I mean, somebody took the time, and Casey, and I know we're getting short on time, but Casey pointed out to me, and this is what I don't understand. Yeah. This is what I really don't understand. Every clip that we sent out from our show yesterday, okay, clips of whoever, or us talking about the NFL, talking about the Bengals, and having this guy on and that guy on, some guy took the time to go to every single one of those clips individually. He can't do them all at one time. And he starts writing about me apologizing and the Castellanos home run. Now, look, I understand what that thing has become. It's become this huge meme, and it's what people are going to talk about, and it'll be on there after I'm dead and gone for a long, long time, and it bums me out. The only part of it that bums me out is that my kids have to live with it. That's it. But who takes the time to do that?
Someone with no life. Let me ask you with the Castellanos thing, since we're getting serious on this show. What the hell were you supposed to do when he hit the home run? Were you supposed to just let it go?
Well, I don't know. And we'll save that. You and I will save that for Thursday. We'll get into that when we have a little bit more time because we're at the end of our segment here. Tracer?
Very, very serious show today.
Casey, you had one more thing for Tracy?
I just have a question. So you said you're on Twitter. Do you happen to have other burner accounts like on YouTube or like on Facebook or any Instagram, anything like that?
Don't I?
So you
better believe it. I'm
So,
gonna start slamming you, Casey.
Why?
And Paul too. The Ham and Egger boys.
Well,
Remember,
honestly,
Casey. No, go ahead.
I honestly just asked because I want to tag you on some of our stuff on Twitter. I want to just make sure that you see our stuff and that you're liking it and retweeting it. But if you don't have a following with your real name, I don't know how much it's going to do. But
no, I don't have the guts. Let me tell you something. I'm very thick-skinned. You're not going to hurt my feelings. Right, Thom?
No,
You're barking up the wrong tree.
That's exactly right. You're barking up the wrong tree.
I don't give a rat's ass. I don't. You're not going to cancel me. I'll move on to something else.
Well, we're glad you're here twice a week, and we hope it's more in the coming week. So you have a great rest of your day. Enjoy the sunshine. It's beautiful Southern California-like weather we're having here in Cincinnati, and enjoy your day. Get outside and do something today.
All right. Stay frosty, boys.
Stay frosty. There you go, fellas. How about that from the Tracer?